Sudan, the blood that humanity can see from space. Brothers and sisters, there are things the world can deny, but this cannot be denied, because the blood of Sudan can be seen from space. Satellite images show it rivers of red staining the soil of El Fasher, in the heart of Darfur. It is not a figure of speech, it is evidence. A genocide so vast, the planet itself bears witness. For 18 long months, the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, laid siege to El Fasher. They cut off food, water, and medicine. They built walls of sand to trap the people inside. When the starvation was complete, they began to kill. In a single maternity hospital, 500 people, mothers, newborns, families, were massacred. Survivors told of RSF fighters shouting, "Kill them all, leave no one alive." Civilians executed in their beds. Women raped in front of their children. Children shot while begging for food. Bodies piled in the streets, left for the dogs and the Sunday. The blood of El Fasher, visible from orbit, marks the place where humanity died. This is not war. This is genocide. Over 150,000 people have been killed. 14 million displaced. 30 million now depend on humanitarian aid to survive. The United Nations calls it the world's largest humanitarian crisis. The World Food Program says 24 million Sudanese are starving. Nearly 80% of food kitchens have shut down, and yet the world sleeps. Sudan's tragedy began not in 2025, but in 2019 when the people rose in hope. They overthrew the dictator Omar al-Bashir after 30 years of tyranny. They dreamed of democracy, but what came next was betrayal. Two generals, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan of the army and Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo Hemeti, head of the RSF, joined forces to seize power. Then, when greed overcame loyalty, they turned on each other. Their power struggle, born of arrogance and gold, became the destruction of an entire nation. The RSF, born from the infamous Janjaweed militias that carried out the genocide in Darfur 2 decades ago, returned with new weapons, new allies, and foreign money. They were no longer horsemen with rifles. They were an army with drones. The United Arab Emirates armed and financed this force. The UN, independent journalists, and US sanctions all trace gold, money, and weapons flowing from Abu Dhabi to Hemeti. Emirati companies helped fund the war. And while civilians begged for life, Sudan's gold flowed to Dubai, billions in smuggled metal, stolen from the earth of Darfur. Even now, the UAE's own central bank records that 97% of Sudan's official gold exports went to the Emirates, while 90% of total production left the country illegally, much of it through RSF-controlled mines. That gold, tainted with blood, bought weapons, fuel, and death. It financed a genocide. Now, after El Fasher fell, the UAE has begun to backtrack. In Bahrain, senior envoy Anwar Gargash admitted, "We made a mistake. We should have stopped the coup. We did not call it what it was." He was speaking of the 2021 coup that ended Sudan's democratic dream, a coup backed by Gulf money. The UAE, alongside Saudi Arabia, gave billions to Sudan's generals while freezing funds to its civilian leaders. Those decisions, those deliberate choices, broke the spine of democracy and led directly to the war that now consumes the nation. Yes, they now admit mistakes. But Sudanese graves cannot be dug with apologies. As Human Rights Watch put it, the test of sincerity is not words, it is action. To cooperate with UN investigators, to stop the flow of blood, gold, to name and punish those who turn Sudan into a market for death. The United States, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, the so-called Quad, now promise a humanitarian truce, a ceasefire, and a civilian-led transition. Their statement says, "Sudan's future governance is for the Sudanese people to decide, not for the warring parties." Fine words. But as they talk in Washington, Sudanese children die in the desert between El Fasher and Al-Daba. Mothers feed their babies sand and pray it will quiet their cries. Aid trucks sit idle behind checkpoints while the world debates responsibility. And so I ask you, what kind of civilization can live stream a genocide and call it complex? What kind of ummah, the body of believers, can watch Muslim mothers and fathers slaughtered and say nothing? What kind of humanity sees famine, rape, and mass graves and does not tremble? Shame. Shame on every government that hides behind diplomacy while the innocent die. Shame on every Arab and Western power that armed both sides and now pretends surprise. Shame on the Muslim world for its silence. Shame on us all. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever among you sees an evil, let him change it with his hand. If he cannot, then with his tongue. If he cannot, then with his heart, and that is the weakest of faith." So where is our faith now? Where is our heart? But I will tell you this, Sudan will not die in silence, because truth cannot be buried forever. The world may forget, but God does not. Every drop of blood, every child's cry, every mother's prayer in the dark, all of it has been recorded by angels who do not miss a thing. And to those who profited from this blood, to those who smuggled gold, armed killers, and sold silence for influence, your reckoning will come. No throne is high enough to hide from divine justice. Sudan's soil may be soaked in blood today, but from that soil will rise testimony. Testimony against the corrupt, against the cowardly, against the silent. Because if the blood of Sudan can be seen from space, then surely the shame of humanity can be seen from heaven. And on that day, when the earth itself speaks, it will not be the voices of the powerful that are heard, but the whispers of the dying and the cries of the forgotten, saying, "We were not invisible. You chose not to see." May Allah have mercy on Sudan. May He forgive us our silence, and may He awaken the hearts of those who still have breath before every trace of humanity is lost.